الله أكبر الله أكبر.
My name is Shahzaib Ahmad, and I'm a consultant intensive care medicine doctor doing cardiac intensive care and neurological intensive care. So I would say preparation for Ramadan starts before Ramadan. In the build-up to Ramadan, I start to pray that Allah Ta'ala allows me to take full advantage of these blessed days. So the routine starts with Tahajjud prayer. Allah Ta'ala has blessed us with the opportunity to do Taraweeh prayer in Ramadan. And I often, I was brought up in this manner where we would do 4 Taraweeh prayers the night before and do 4 nawafil in Tahajjud prayer to make it 8 to follow the sunnah of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And I'm very lucky that I have a variation in my day-to-day routine at work. And sometimes it's a hard day at work. And sometimes it's an easier day. And so the ideal routine for me is that I would wake up often an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours before Sahri time to pray Tahajjud and carry on until it's time to eat Sahri. And then once I've ate Sahri, I would then go to Masjid Mubarak for Fajr prayer. The toughest days are when I would get up for Tahajjud prayer, I would eat for Sahri time, I would do Fajr namaz, I would read Quran when I come back from Fajr namaz, and at that point there will be no time left to have any further sleep before I have to set off for work. So, with that routine, it would be impossible for me to catch up on any sleep, and so those days are the hardest. And if I'm being totally honest, some days I'm able to make it to Fajr at Masjid Mubarak, and some days it's tough because of the work routine, and I stay at home. I do my Fajr namaz and I might catch half an hour, 45 minutes of sleep before I set off for work. Before I lived in this area, I was living in a place where we did not have a mosque. When I was growing up as a child, my youngest memories, my earliest memories are that I was living near a mosque, which was 3-4 minute walk away from my house. So a lot of my childhood memories are filled with the mosque at the center of it. And now that I've moved here, when I take them to Masjid Mubarak, not only do they get to pray behind Huzoor, it is such a healthy activity for them. There's a physical activity involved in which they, walk to the masjid. It takes them away from screens.
I like going with my with Abba, and sometimes I go with my family. But it's nice to have it's nice to go with Abba because he's not home a lot. He's always like at work, and it's really nice to just go to Islamabad with him. I love going to Islamabad because of the tuck shop and the langar, and I can run around. But my favourite part is seeing Huzoor.
Praying behind Huzoor is my way of holding on to that person without whom I'm at such a significant risk of misguidance and going astray. Allah Ta'ala has a direct connection with this person. And if I'm being totally honest, average people, and in my circumstances, probably less than average, we don't have the spiritual achievements or the spiritual station that we can speak directly to Allah Ta'ala and have communion with Allah Ta'ala. I would get up at 6:15 a.m. I work at St. George's Hospital, which is about 1 hour's drive away from here. So on that way, it's often a time of reflection. I often pray of all the prayers that I know that from memory. And then particularly focusing on the prayers that Huzoor has recently stressed to us that we should recite repeatedly. Once I get to work, it's often about 7:45 to 8 o'clock, and then the day starts at work. So I think as a doctor, it is not, particularly if you're working in a hospital, and even more so if you're working in a field like mine, which is intensive care. So it is not uncommon to go several hours without food or water when there is an emergency. And as a result of that, you know, when I'm fasting, it doesn't feel that differently, but it does feel different when there isn't an emergency and you're just going through the day-to-day routine. One of the thoughts that constantly on my mind is, where am I going to get the time to do Zohr and Asr namaz? I find that a huge struggle on a day-to-day basis because it's not a fixed time. In Ramadan, it's easier because when everybody goes for lunch, I can say, I also need to go for 10-15 minutes and I can go and do namaz. So I wish it was as easy as it's time to go home and I get up and I go home and I have iftari with my family. But the reality is that when I'm at work, I'm not going to finish before iftari time and I'm going to break my fast at work. There were certainly times in recent memory in the last decade where for many years in a row, when I was, for example, doing a night shift, I would open my fast at work and have the sehri at work and not have that time with family at all. I'm very lucky this year because I've just recently become a consultant and I don't have to be in the hospital for my night shifts. One thing that is a must in our house, and it's been an established practice, that all adults in the house will finish the recitation of the Quran from beginning to end. So a lot of focus, a lot of the day is spent on reciting the Quran. The children know that this is a month which has a special connection with the Quran. In fact, a phrase that I've learned from my wife is that the Ramadan is the birthday of the Quran because of its relationship with this holy month. And so we really own that, and there's lots and lots of recitation of the Quran. I will do it separately, my wife will do it separately. We'll spend time with the kids and make sure that they do it too.
I was very excited to wake up for Sehri today because it was the first day of Ramadan and I really want to do my roza as much as I can.
My favourite part of Ramadan is making fruit chaat and eat.
It's the weekend, so this morning the kids got up for Sehri because they wanted to. It wasn't even a suggestion to them. They themselves said, when you wake up in the morning, we want to get up. They want to be up at that time. They want to be part of that culture. And no matter how hard I try, I cannot make that happen. This is purely a blessing of Allah Ta'ala. Ramadan has come in the summertime, and it's not been possible. Tarawih prayer would often finish, past 11 p.m. Certainly for the kids, that's not possible because they have to go to school the next day. And so this year, I'm actually pretty excited because we were having this conversation, earlier in the day at home, that this year is a really good time to take the kids for Tarawih. I would say give up all non-essential things. I would say don't think about sleep. It is hard. I get it. I feel you. I know you get hungry, you get thirsty. I know work is hard. But these days are so special, they will not come again. So take full advantage of them. I know it's hard, but push through it. It is worth it.